Now let's turn to page 6 of the Standard, and we're talking about what awaits Raila in his new AU envoy job. Of course, the opposition leader Raila Odinga will be the highest-ranking special envoy to the African Union chairman, with offices in 5 countries. And that story details what Raila Odinga will be doing, especially championing for infrastructural development in the country. And there's a similar story on apart from the page 6 of the Standard, there's another story on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Raila talks of his new job during US lecture. He says that his biggest target will be to complete the 60,000-kilometer Trans-African highway. And the question that has been on the minds of many before we get into the details of what this will entail is how he's going to balance his political leadership role in the country as well as now his new job. Where should his priorities be, and how does he ensure that he's able to manage ODM and the opposition alliance, which both of you belong to, I hope, versus his new job at the AU?
Really, it depends on where you stand and what you would prefer to be the best outcome by dint of this particular appointment on how it's going to affect the politics of Kenya. My understanding is this, that it can go either way. Namely, this appointment can make it so difficult for the former Prime Minister to be present on the ground that when eventually he wants to run in 2022, as it has been confirmed by Junet and Senator Orengo and Dr. Oburu, he finds that he's lost touch with the grassroots networks. That is possible. However, on the other side, he could use this to build international networks, both political and economic, that can contribute to his findings election in 2022 to be easy. That's my position.
Senator?
I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Raila Amolo Odinga on his appointment. Africa is a continent with great men and women, not in their tens, not in their hundreds, not in their thousands, but in their millions. You know, you go to foreign countries, you find Africans doing big jobs, jobs that previously were reserved for those who had colonized us. For the AU to pick Raila Amolo Odinga out of so many men and women who deserve is an indication and a confirmation that truly his contribution not just to Kenya but to Africa has been recognized. It also entrenches his credentials as a Pan-Africanist. It also entrenches his credentials as an expert when it comes to infrastructure. People have been asking, how is he going to juggle all this? You know, sometimes we forget that this country has also another very eminent son called Francis Atwoli. Francis Atwoli is the Secretary General of KOTU.
Right.
If you look at Francis Atwoli's CV, he's a director, National Bank of Kenya, he's a director at NSSF, he's the chairman, East Africa Trade Union Confederation, he's a president, Trade Union Federation of East Africa, he's a president, Organization of African Trade Union, he's a member of the governing body, International Labour Organization, he's a vice president in the International Labour Conference, he's a vice president, the International Trade Union Confederation, he's a Secretary General KOTU and Secretary General Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union.
Is he effective?
When it comes to politics,
is he effective?
I believe Atwoli is very effective. I wanted to, because Boni is here, and even when it comes to conversations about politics of Western Kenya, the economy of Western Kenya, Francis Atwoli is a gentleman who cannot be ignored. Where Boni Khalwale as a bona fide leader is sitting, and others like Wetangula, and others like Mudavadi, Francis Atwoli cannot be ignored. When it comes to trade union matters in this republic, Francis Atwoli cannot be ignored. When it comes to broad national politics, he still cannot be ignored, despite his many obligations. Raila Odinga has just taken a role as an envoy at the African Union. I don't think that is going to interfere with his contribution to this country. Indeed, Raila Odinga has decided to rebrand himself and focus on the theme of reconciliation. Right. In fact, we want Raila Odinga to focus on broader issues and to leave the small village interventions to us as senators and to members of parliament and to governors. There has been a tendency which we have seen in the past that because of his influence and because of his power, people want to invite him for every wedding and for every funeral. I'm sure I will still oblige.
Do people get invited to funerals?
But yeah, people do get invited to funerals. Oh. I'm sure I will still oblige because of his commitment and his love for the people. But we feel that after his long period of service and commitment to this country and to Africa, that this is a role that suits him, but this is a role that will not conflict with his current credentials and mandate as a statesman. Obviously, right now, Raila Odinga does not have a formal position in Kenya's political structure, beside being the leader of ODM and beside being the leader of the opposition.
But for the sake of politics and the roadmap to 2022, when should he return?
Oh, Raila Odinga, I don't think that we are saying that Raila Odinga is going to Tunis and live in Kenya. He is still so much a Kenyan. A role of a special envoy.
No, I'm talking about returning to active participation in the political affairs of the country.
I do not think that there is a clause in his appointment that says that he cannot continue running the political party, that he cannot continue being actively involved in politics. I don't think that is what he has signed up for. He will continue doing his role as a Pan-Africanist, but he would still also be involved in running his political party, the political coalition, and also driving the Building Bridges initiative.
But you see, Senator, to try and compare Raila Odinga with Atwoli, it is to miss the point by over 1,000 miles. If you need to compare him to any other Kenyan who is in an international calling, the ideal person would be Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who serves at the United Nations Trade and Development Conference of the United Nations. This is a full-time job. Raila's is a full-time job. Those positions you have referred to by Atwoli are not full-time jobs. He is expected to be in office in Johannesburg, in Addis Ababa, and other places whose details will become clearer as we go on. He'll therefore find it very difficult. But I'm not saying he will not do what you're doing. Hearing what you're saying and having heard what other leaders from ODM said, then this is the famous tactic that you and I, when we were little boys, used to use. If you are afraid of frogs and you wanted to go and swim in a pond, you would throw in a stone to find out whether the frogs are there or not. How so nice now that having had this stone thrown into the pond, it is now clear to those who thought that Raila was not going to be a presidential candidate in 2022. It's now clear that he is going to be. In conclusion, allow me also to encourage you, as you congratulate Raila Odinga for this appointment, to remember that the person who deserves greater congratulations is not him. It is actually President Uhuru, because without him, he would not have been appointed. And as you celebrate, may I caution you, it could very well be that Raila is being managed. He's being managed to be where somebody wants him to be. And if you lack somebody to consult on the issue of being managed, ask me and Musalia Mudavadi. In 2013, that is how William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta managed me and Mudavadi, and we found that we had actually been derailed from the course on which we were.
First things first, Senator. We have seen NASA co-principal Musalia Mudavadi tweeting 14 hours ago, that was at 5 p.m. yesterday. He said that I'd like to congratulate my brother and colleague, Honorable Raila Odinga, on his appointment as African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development. I wish you only the very best as you lend your wealth of experience to Africa. Hongera. Then shortly after, about 3 hours later, your party leader, Senator Moses Wetangula, he said that congratulations, Ndugu Raila, on your AU appointment, which is well deserved. Where do you stand in all this appointment?
In terms of congratulating, I think I did it much earlier than them. I did it, I think, on Tuesday.
So why would you say?
I did it earlier than them. They have their own reason why they were slow to move. I moved timelessly and congratulated him. I have no problem in a prominent Kenyan, a son of this country, serving at an international level.
But why would you do that with tongue-in-cheek that he's being managed?
Yeah, I was just trying to caution them not to celebrate too much, because we are in politics and they could learn from my experience and that of David in 2013. You know, facts are very harsh and very stubborn.
What I find interesting is that the nation has gone into a conversation on Raila's new job, when we have not seen that job description. In fact, the article we are looking at quotes Dr. Mkoa Anangwe and Erastus Mwencha. There's that article on page 6. Raila Odinga made a speech in North Carolina, where he's on a visiting tour of the United States, talking about some of the things that he expects to achieve. Let us not forget that the Africa Union is nowhere close to the UN Conference on Trade and Development that is headed by Mukisa Kitui, because UNCTAD is fairly more funded. It has much more permanent structures, as opposed to the AU, which, honestly, my personal view of the AU has been that it is a talking shop. Look at the AU, its headquarters built by China. Look at the AU. Things like even plenary sessions sometimes are funded by donors. Look at the AU. What has it been able to achieve from a political perspective, even in countries that are undergoing civil strife? Look at the AU. What has it been able to do from a developmental perspective? Look at the AU. What has it been able to achieve over the years? It has been a political talking show. Now, Raila's responsibility as high representative on infrastructure, I wouldn't liken it to Mukisa Kitui's. And I think that Mukisa Kitui has a much more executive role, which then keeps him out of the country. But we all know Raila Odinga, and we know that he brings meaning to anything that you give him. Make him a sweeper at the Africa Union, he will sweep the streets cleaner or better than they've ever been swept. I believe that Raila Odinga is capable of defining a job description, is capable of rising above the malaise and the failures of the Africa Union. I believe that is also capable of projecting the Africa Union in the perspectives particularly of Kenyans, and projecting it in a much more positive manner than it has ever been projected in the face of Kenyans.
You know, it is true that the job description has not been made public, but you must know what the meaning of the word envoy. He is the representative of Mustafa, the chairman of the AU. So he will not just be doing things the way he likes. He will respond to instructions from the chairman of the AU. And because in that position, the envoy is supposed to do advocacy for infrastructure development on this continent, and two, he's supposed to try and lobby for funds, for funding those particular projects. He will have to respond to instructions from the chairman. So don't you just take it that he has a free hand to do whatever he wants and how he wants to do it. He's going to respond
Senator,
to
why are you speaking like this?
I'm speaking like this so that, because some of the viewers are youthful people, we want to bring them on the same page so that they understand what it means. And by the way, because this is a product of a political process, this appointment. And because Senator and I are very active politicians, we must be alert, unless somebody is being played.
But the talk in town, before I get to that, there's the story on page 5 of the Daily Nation talking about there was the dream to build 60,000 kilometers of a Trans-African highway, but they are saying that so far, since 1971, what has been successful is some 4,500 kilometers of a road between Senegal and Chad. I just wonder, with this new appointment of Raila Odinga, how easy or how difficult is it to manage to grow that infrastructure from what it is, 4,500, to the 60,000 that now was imagined by the African Union in 1971?
Yes, it's a very big responsibility, and you know, because you cannot reinvent the wheel. What Africa is trying to do is, for example, what already has been achieved in America, for example. If you go to North America, the kind of highways they have between the US and Canada, you can only dream about them in Kenya. So I will not wait for the job description, but the job is already cut out for him. We not only have to complete those 60,000 kilometers of road, but we also have to have a rail line that will also follow the same network as those roads. And therefore, it is an extremely, extremely busy exercise. Unless one wants to go there just to play games, if you're going there to do a job, and that's why in my congratulations, on my Twitter handle, hours after the announcement was made in Kakamega, I reminded him that there was the possibility that we would want him to emulate the hard work of Dr. Mokisa Kitui, who has done a very good job at the UN. And he did that because if you visit Dr. Kitui in his office in Geneva, he is very busy and he works, and we expect that the Prime Minister...
So are you persuaded that this should serve as his exit from the Kenyan politics, or you belong to the school of thought that he should retain his active role in matters of the nation?
My understanding is that to his adversaries, I am not running for president, so it doesn't matter to me. My understanding is that some of his competitors or would-be competitors would be happier if a strong personality like him was out of the way. But speaking like a medical doctor, I want to refer those competitors of Raila to something we call in psychology a Maslow's theory. It is the theory of human motivation. What motivates a human being? So in this case, you start off with the basic needs of life, the psychological needs of life, and you end up at the apex with self-actualization. Raila's self-actualization is very clear to all Kenyans, that he will only feel he has self-actualized himself if he becomes the head of state of the Republic of Kenya. So he's not about to go away.
I don't think, having interacted with Raila Odinga as my leader and as my senior, he is driving ambition is not personal. Because at a personal level, I would ask you, what is it that Raila Odinga has not achieved? Raila has this burning ambition that things can get better. And every day when we reflect on Kenya, we agree that things are not okay. This particular posting, it has occupied the national conversation simply because it's Raila Odinga who has been appointed there. Sure. But you recall, not too long ago, Betty Murungi was appointed to sit in a UN commission to look into allegations in Palestine. That was big. Imagine if it was Raila Odinga who had been appointed to that position. And remember, Betty Murungi's appointment was not supported by the government of Kenya. In fact, the government of Kenya just realized that Betty Murungi had been appointed into that commission. So I think we are over sensationalizing this particular matter simply because it's Raila Odinga. I know that the job of a representative or a high representative or of an envoy is a job that one can turn down if he finds it unviable to continue doing that and to continue running matters back at home. We know Raila Odinga. We know that he's a man who's able to walk and chew gum, and I believe that he's going to be able to do a great job of projecting up an African image, but also, at the same time, he will be fully committed to building bridges in Kenya.
All right.